Hello, YouTubers. This is Bubba Barrel. I have here a Honda Rancher ES, electronic shift. And yes, I've got problems with it. Everybody has problems with it. But once you know all the problems, you can fix them. It's not really that hard. I'm going to tell you how to fix just about every problem that anybody's ever had with one of these right now. Now you'll notice the shift buttons here are shifting up and down when they're working. But when they don't work, a lot of times it's the computer. The computer has all kinds of sensors, angle sensors, speed sensors, gear position sensors, wiring harnesses, all kinds of things that can go wrong, and if it thinks anything's wrong, it just won't shift, which that ain't right. If I want my ATV to shift, it should shift. That's the way it should be. So we don't need no stinking computers. We just don't need them. So I'll show you the thing that'll fix many of the problems, if not most of your problems. And that is this shift bypass system. This thing bypasses the computer altogether. It's got some relays here, a timer. I've got it disconnected from the battery right now. There's some wires going up front, and this system you can get from subzerosound.com. Just go to subzerosound.com on the internet and you can order one of these. And it's just drop in. It comes with all the wires, all the connectors, everything you need. You just drop it in, run the wires, connect them with the connectors included, and it'll bypass your stinking computer. Now, just to let you know where the computer is on a Honda Rancher, it's down here under the right rear wheel well. It's the thing with the most wires going to it back in there. Got a whole bunch of wires going to it, and it likes to tell you what to do, when you can shift and when you can't shift. That's what it tells you. Now, let me show you the wires to the shift motor. Up under here, under the front, you can see I've disconnected this connector. So you have to put a little screwdriver underneath this tab, lift it up, and then pull, and this end here comes out. And it's got these two wires going to the shift motor. And here's two wires coming from my shift system, and you can splice them in. I give you inline splices. You don't even have to cut these wires. You can splice them in just like they are. So let me show you the shift motor. Here's the shift motor right here. It's got a motor right there. This compartment bolts onto the front cover, and there's some reduction gears in here which look like this. Here's your reduction gears right here. They go inside that shift motor thing. Sometimes these get stripped out, and taking the shift motor off is not that hard. So you could check these, you could grease them, make sure the shift motor turns when you apply 12 volts to it. You can run a couple of jumper wires to it, and just with a quick touch make sure that it turns. It's a 12 volt motor. Next thing you can check is this manual shift tool here, right here. You can also use a 12 millimeter wrench to shift down in there. What that does is it turns this shaft right here. This little shaft turns both when the shift motor turns and when the manual shift tool, or on the foot shift models, they're actually connected to the same shaft too. They move that same shaft. They all go there. They all go to that shaft. Down under here is what that shaft turns. So when you go up a gear, it turns it. Go down a gear, it turns it. Up a gear, it turns it. Down a gear, it turns it. Now if that gets stuck, sometimes they get stuck. Gears will get jammed in the transmission, and all you have to do is move the wheels of the ATV a little bit, push and pull on the ATV to release the gear jam, and then it'll start shifting again. A lot of times that's all you have to do is just push and pull on the ATV, and all of a sudden it'll start shifting again. Now, the other problem that can happen is you can have something break back in here. And in fact, in order to get back there, it's kind of tough. You have to unbolt the differential, the front differential, so you can move it forward a little bit, and then you can pull this front drive shaft out of the front. And here is the front cover. Here's where the drive shaft goes. Here's where the shift motor goes. And you pull that drive shaft off. There's also a couple of oil cooler hoses that have to be removed, and about 12 bolts have to be removed in order to get this thing off. It's kind of a pain, but it's not too hard. The harder part is getting to this shift plate and shift arm down here, because they're behind this clutch. And inside there is a nut that you have to take off in order to move that clutch a little bit. Here's that nut that goes on the clutch. There's also a couple of more pieces on that shift shaft. This arm and this arm are on there, and there's a bearing that goes in the middle. Just pushes right in over here. The easiest way to get that clutch nut off is to use an impact driver. If you have an air gun, it's really easy. This one works really well too. I used a strap wrench to hold on to the clutch while I did my impact driver to release this nut. And then that allows you to pull this clutch forward. About 1/2 inch is all you need to pull it forward once the nut is off, and that allows you to pull this piece off here, and it allows you to pull this shift plate off. Here's your shift plate. These sometimes break right here at these tabs. These tabs will break off or they'll get worn. So that is another common problem. In fact, the original models of this wrencher had a slightly weaker shift plate that frequently had problems. They had a recall on those, I think. Another common problem is underneath the shift plate. There is a star wheel. Can you see it, YouTubers? There's a star wheel in there. That star wheel, which is right there, it's got 7 points on it. It sometimes comes loose, so you have to tighten it back up with some Loctite. That star wheel is actually directly connected to the shift drum, which moves the shift forks. And the star wheel is moved by the shift plate, which is moved by the shift arm, and that's all moved by this shift shaft. So that's the worst kind of problem, is you have to get all the way in there to do that. That takes a while to get in there and do that. But if you've got the heavy duty version of that shift plate, it came out, I don't know, shortly after the year 2000, 2001, I don't know, 2002, somewhere in there. You shouldn't have any problems in there, but you might, yeah. That sometimes happens, and it sometimes goes bad. Much more common is a computer problem, and if you want to make sure you can do this shift tool, you can shift gears. It won't shift now because I've got the shift plate off, but you want to be able to shift through all the gears, neutral 1 through 5, back down. If you can do that, then that means the internal gear linkage is working. And if you can test the shift motor, or if you can hear it try to go when you push the button, then my relay bypass system will fix you up. It will bypass that stupid computer And when you push a shift button, you will be able to shift. And the timer keeps it from staying on more than a quarter of a second and keeps it from putting too much pressure on the gears. It's kind of a fail-safe. You don't have to have the timer, but it's an extra layer that helps prevent damage if somebody tries to hold the gear button down too long. So that's about all the problems that are likely to happen with the shift system. Go to subzerosound.com. Bottom of the page, click on the Honda button. It'll tell you how to replace that computer with the relays. Should fix you right up. Talk to you later.